Hello, welcome to Hope Matters, a production of Mount Olive Lutheran Church here in Senegal, California. Each week we talk to an interesting person from around the community, around the nation, even around the world on the theme of hope, because we believe that hope matters. My guest today is Pastor Mytch Dorvilier. Gotta get it right. Dorvilier, right? And she is the pastor of Bethel Lutheran Church in Fresno, California, but she comes to that call with an amazing background in global mission work and work in Haiti and West Africa and Eastern North Dakota, and now is in Fresno. So welcome, Pastor. I'm so glad you're with us today.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, I am Mytch Dorvilier, and I am talking to all of you from the land of the Yokot in Central Valley, California. So, Yokot means people. So yes, people lived there before. So we're not the only one. So I'm excited to have that conversation with you all, and I'm ready to dive into it.
Wonderful, wonderful. Now, as I understand it, you were born in Haiti, correct?
Yes, correct. I was born and raised in Haiti. Yes.
But then you ended up working for the Lutheran World Federation in Haiti. What did you do for the Lutheran World Federation in Haiti?
Well, I need to give you some context.
Sure, please.
I was born and raised in the dictatorship. So when I was in high school, I was part of the student movement. This is when the country was tired of the dictatorship, baby doc, and everybody was like, we need to get rid of that dictatorship. So I was part of the student movement. And Lutheran World Federation was in Haiti, but we didn't have a Lutheran church actually. So, and this is how I get acquainted to the Lutheran World Federation, and I worked with them in their development department. Yeah.
And then tell us that path, because I know there was a path that you received a call to ministry, ended up in West Africa. So give us a little hint of a little 101 on your journey.
Well, I moved from Haiti to United States, and at the time we did not have a Lutheran church in Haiti. So when we moved there, but I know about the Lutheran church because of my work with the Lutheran World Federation. And at the time it was ELC. So when we received, all the people from the Lutheran pastors all over the world coming to Haiti. So I got acquainted with Lutheranism, and especially all the solas that Luther talks about. So, and I got energized with the grace, sola gratia. So, and then I asked a lot of information about it. And then I'm like, oh, that sounds interesting. So we moved to United States, and we continue going to church. We were received by a church in Florida, actually Orlando, Kissimmee, called St. John Lutheran Church. We actually experienced radical hospitality there. So and I met somebody there. And this person received us as if we were their own tribe. I never felt, I spent a year with this person. I never felt that I was a stranger in their house. And then I had my younger child at their house. And then they became my kids' grandmother and grandfather. This is where my call to ministry starts. but it wasn't being a pastor. It was to be a missionary, because the couple that I lived with used to be a missionary in Japan for 20 years. I say their name is Luther and B. Kistler. But unfortunately, Luther died almost 2 years ago. This is where my inner the call to ministry started. So we moved from Florida, we moved to California, and then we got a call to serve the ELCA in West Africa, Senegal. And from there, we were the regional rep for West Africa. So we served there for about 4 years. And then there, actually, this is where I again heard my call to ministry. And at this time was actually being a pastor. But what I said to myself, and I said, it's because I've been with too many pastors in my life, and then it's my ego, I want to be a pastor. So I ignored that call. And then the call, the voice actually started coming again and again. And one time I actually talked to a friend, our program director, and then she came to visit us in California. And then I told her, you know what? This is what I've been hearing. And then she looked at me, she said, Mytch, you're going to be a good pastor. I'm like, no, I don't speak English. That's when I'm going to go back to school 4 years. I have 3 children that I need to take care of. That's not for me. So I ignored that call again. And then to make the story short, I after 4 years, we moved back to United States, especially in Illinois, because we work for Global Mission. And in the call, I was stuck and finally, I decided I'm gonna go to seminary, but I didn't know where. Some people said LSTC, some people said Wartburg, because I wasn't too far away from that. And then all of a sudden, I decided this is gonna be Wartburg, and I moved on campus with all my kids, and then I started seminary there. So now I am a ordained minister in the Lutheran Church. But I was asked the question, I remember people said, how can you be a pastor in this white denomination? So I think people think it wasn't my place as a Black woman to be ordained in the Lutheran Church. And then I'm Haitian. So, God has a good sense of humor. And then being an Haitian who was born in this place, which is the first Black nation to gain independence from the colonizers, and also a place where sense and spirit mingled together. And my ancestors, they had hope for me, and that hope is my independence, from slavery, and without that, I don't think I would be a pastor in the Lutheran Church, because of that hope, because of that sacrifice that they made for me to be where I am now. And I'm so proud of that. And then I keep moving forward with that hope, because every time I put one foot in front of the other, not knowing where this is going to take me, but I have that hope that in the other side, there's something good that I can experience. And experiencing freedom from my ancestors, experiencing that I can do and be anything. And also through Christ, I have that freedom as well. So that's my hope for myself, for other Black women, for other human beings.
Cool. You did ministry in eastern North Dakota, certainly about as opposite a climate from Haiti as you could ever imagine. Was that were you working with the Synod on multicultural ministry? What was that call like?
Yes, yes. After after my ordination, so the Synod, the bishop called me as a multi-ethnic mission developer, and so I moved to North Dakota. I know, yes, it is a very different climate from Haiti. You know, North Dakota is very cold. So my work was to work with the BIPOC people, human beings in North Dakota, and also to help people to see the world around them differently in terms of diversity in the church, and also to see the gospel, to read the gospel in this with that experience as well. And so I actually preach a lot in churches, and I also did a lot of workshop on anti-racism and reconciliation as well in the church, in the Synod, as well as in my community around Fargo, Moorhead area. And wonderful. I also served at the same time as a priest in charge as at the with the Episcopal as well.
Yes, I saw that in your bio. And you are multilingual. Let's see, English, Creole, Spanish, French, and
Wolof.
What is, I'm not familiar with that language.
Wolof is the language that they speak in Senegal.
Ah, of course. All right. So you had to learn that to do work there. So now you're in Fresno. What is your emphasis in the congregation there?
Yes, I moved there 2 years ago, right in the middle of COVID. Yes, COVID was done. COVID started in March. I was there in March. So we started everything online. So last year in May, we had our first in-person worship. So my emphasis, because we are downtown Fresno.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So we have a small church where we believe that the Holy Spirit is with us to do work in our community, because around Fresno we have a lot of homeless people, and they need to be part of our ministry. So it's our responsibility to reach out to this community around the church. And also we are reading the Bible with different lenses now, lenses of people in the margin. So that's what we are doing.
Wonderful, wonderful. So Fresno, it would the people in the margins, besides homeless, would you probably have a large migrant population in that area also?
Not very large, but we do.
We do. All right. So good, wonderful. Well, thank you. We could spend a lot of time talking about your background, I know, but since we try to keep these interviews to about 15 minutes, but so you've talked about hope before, but let's go back to that theme. So there you are in Fresno doing this important work in the community of anchoring this congregation in the neighborhood and reaching out to people with God's love. Where do you find hope in your daily life these days?
I find hope in the people that I encounter every day in my life, and especially in the neighborhood of the church. We do every Thursday. We go and then walk in our neighborhood and then say hi to people and then start a conversation with them. This is where I find hope. How I see people, I see everyone for whom Jesus died for. This is where I find that hope. When even though we were in a difficult time, and then you see that smile, you see the way that people answer, back to you with a good morning, or good afternoon. I remember one time we were walking, and then we didn't see that gentleman who was crossing the street. And all of a sudden, this person engaged in conversation with us about a dog, So I'm like, yeah, that's hope, it's a place where when we are, we feel connected with the other, and then our holiness, meet in the middle. So that's hope for me.
Wonderful. Thank you. And thank you thank you, Pastor Dorvilier, for being with us today. I really appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Pastor Shafer, for inviting me.
You're welcome. This has been Hope Matters, a production of Mount Olive Lutheran Church in Santa Monica, California. Our guest today has been Pastor Mytch Dorvilier, who is pastor of Bethel Lutheran Church in Fresno, North Dakota, in Fresno, California. And it's been a delight to have a conversation with you today and get to know you better. So tune in again next week for another guest on Hope Matters, because we believe that hope matters, and we believe in a God of hope.